Hello, quantum community. Welcome to this new weekly live where myself and my colleague and co-facilitator, Shawn are going to be talking about love and relationships. This is going to be a new way to engage with you and listen to your questions. What are areas that you would like to explore and understand with greater clarity around love? Stand by just a moment and we'll get Shawn in here for this fantastic conversation.
I'm in.
Hi, Shawn.
How
How
are
are
you?
you?
I'm so
Welcome
good.
back.
I know I had to get
It's
some tea and honey. You can hear my voice is, yeah, I've been using it a lot over the past week and speaking and talking and spending quality time with people. But so grateful to be here and grateful to see, oh my God, all these people showing up. So that is super exciting.
Hi,
Um,
Yolanda.
aloha, all of y'all. Oh my gosh.
Welcome.
I'm feeling the love. Yeah, I'm just feeling the love right now.
Well, I was just sharing with our wonderful community how we're coming together in this new weekly series to listen to their questions, to be able to explore more deeply on love, on relationships, whether it is the love and relationship with ourselves, which of course we know models every other
Right.
relationship in our lives, but also those relationships that we long to cultivate and create through longevity, through time. And if you are out there looking to either deepen the sense of commitment, of communion, of communication in your sacred relationship, or perhaps you are ready to call in your soulmate, you're ready to call in and map your way to your beloved, this conversation is for you. And all of your questions, you can go ahead and start putting those into the chat. One of the things we also really want to hear from you is for our future talks, what are some of the areas that you are most curious about? Personal growth, love, relationships, transformation, and how you can truly thrive in all areas of your life, right? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually. We're so delighted to be here with you today. And thank you, Shawn, for coming on, even though you've been really working that throat center.
I have been, but this is, we had a beautiful conversation before we got up here about this is just the shedding of the old skin of the rebirth of what, and I think this is that kind of that season anyway, which, spring is coming, new things are
Exactly.
blooming. And I definitely feel in harmony with nature. I was just in Florida for a while, no back in the snow. But I can feel, I don't know if you guys hear me, if that's how you feel, heart, just tap the hearts or whatever it is, or let us know if you're feeling that transition, that rebirth, that renewal, because this is the time right here, right now,
Yeah.
to start doing that. I mean, I think when we're in I'm a big believer when we're vibrating in harmony with nature. Now, yeah, many of you probably are starting to see green come and things starting to blossom and bloom, and I'm in 25-foot snowdrifts here. However, but the plants in I have an orchid, right?
Mm,
Plenty of orchids. I love orchids, my favorite flower. But and the stalk had been gone or whatever, but now I see it coming back. It's right. I mean, it may be freezing outside, but the internal. Think about that, right? You may even in your personal life feel like it's still cold. It's still not. I'm not completely warm, but that's okay. It's about what's on the inside, because something's still. If you're here and you're listening, and you're here consistently, and you're there, more importantly, for yourself, you are growing on the inside. We don't always see it, right? But if you're doing the work day in and day out, trust me, you are blooming from within.
I love that so much, Shawn, because this is a time of renewal, of
Mm-hmm.
rebirth. This is a season of light rising within us and all around us. And it is true, even right now where you are in the snow, perhaps you can't go out and plant those seeds, but we can plant seeds of sacred intention in each and every moment. And so what a beautiful gift to be able to come together and talk about some of the seeds of intention that we have for our relationships, for the love that we have in our lives, for loving and caring for ourselves in deeper, deeper ways. Because those seeds that we plant right now are going to be what flourishes in our life in the next season. So it is such a potent time to come together. I do want to, Courtney was the first person that put a question up.
Yeah,
So let's address this first. Um,
absolutely.
Courtney, my fiance and I have been together for 12 years. First of all, right there, that is incredible. Congratulations. And you've been through a lot, good, bad, and ugly. Life has so many peaks and valleys. But it seems like the past 3 years we have drifted apart. Any suggestions how to work on us? And I think one thing that's so important, Courtney, is to really give yourself a moment of compassion for, first of all, the courage that it took to just be vulnerable. So thank you for opening up, because it's through our vulnerability that we transform. And this is such an important question that many of us that have been in relationship for long periods of time face, right? How do we build that unity for longevity? And how do we close the gap of any chasm that starts when there is a moment of discontent or disharmony that ends up growing into something more? So let's talk about that for a moment. Shawn, do you want to start with any ideas, and then I'll throw in a couple for Courtney and for
Yeah.
all of us here that are
Hmm.
in some degree of relationship going, how do we come back together when we come
Yeah.
apart?
Such a great question. And Courtney, you are not alone. I think, 95% of us at some point, whatever the relationship is, whether it's with your partner, your kids, your friend, your whatever, you're like, why are we getting this? I feel like I'm drifting. Was such a great word. I'm drifting apart. If that's how I feel. So first of all, the fact that you're aware of how you personally in this moment, in that moment, are starting to feel. Now, of course, you're going to have to articulate that to your partner. But if you're not becoming aware of how I feel and why, is a big thing. Why do I feel the way I feel? Why do I feel like I'm drifting apart? Right? This is just about you right now, first and foremost, right? We'll get to the next, how do I articulate that? But you can't articulate something that you're not clear about. That's how we end up in the chasm. I mean, the drift apart turns into this, in words as you described, a huger chasm or a cliff, and and then it's over. I can tell you from experience, my inability to communicate clearly what was happening within me, drifting in my previous marriage, where I'm divorced at the moment. At the moment, I am. It's like, it's not momentary. It's done. At the moment, like, what does that mean? But I, taking responsibility, I let the drifting turn into a bigger chasm, which turned into, of course, we were not meant to be together, but it turned in bigger because I couldn't articulate that. So the fact that you're asking this right now and being aware with a level of grace and compassion to go, this is how I feel. Why do I feel this? And then listen. That's the thing we don't do. We go, why do I feel like this? Why do I feel like this? I'm like, and we're like yelling at the universe or God or whatever you want, whatever you want to say, the energy. You go, wait, you can't get an answer by yelling that you're not going to get a clear answer, I should say, right? So just go, why? And that's where compassion comes in. If you're saying why, you're fighting with yourself. If you're going, why do I feel this way? That's how compassion works from within. And then listen. And you go, because we don't talk, we don't touch, we don't, we're not intimate, we don't say goodnight, we don't connect, right? These are the things that now you see words are coming to you right now to go, okay, I see, I'm very clear, I'm getting clearer about why I feel like we're drifting apart. We're not connecting. Okay, what does that mean? Well, we're not touching, or we're not talking, or I feel that person's distracted and I'm distracted, whatever that is. And then once you get clarity on that, you can articulate that. This is what we're talking about a little bit about the fight language, right? Before it turns into a fight, you are able to, with clarity, articulate what's going on in your own heart to go, could we have this conversation now? And that person may not be in the space. I've been there, right? You're like, I need to talk about this now. This is what we're talking about, our
Yeah.
language, right?
Time.
If you're like, you may be, and this is, I'll tell you again from experience, I was a person who needed time and space to process,
Mm.
right? Ari at the time was like, we need to talk like right now. And it just created a bigger chasm.
Mm. Mm.
We've understood now
Yeah, that's
and
so
found a way to
important.
communicate. But yeah.
I think that when we have such a propensity to make things more complicated than they are by embracing silence. Because when we start to say, okay, there's something here that's a little bit off, what happens? And this is where we come back to that fight language. The fight language isn't always eruptive. It can be very quiet. It can be silent. And so for those of us that have more of a silent fight language, like, oh, okay, I'm just going to withdraw. And when I withdraw, I'm going to shut down, I'm going to close, and then I'm going to build this barrier. And then the wall gets thicker, or the chasm, right, gets wider. And we start to, in our head, go through all of these different scenarios and reasons why we shouldn't reopen to our person, our love.
Yeah.
Right. So a couple of the things that you can do right now, Courtney, is come into an intention within your being to open again, to find the places where you closed off your communication, your love, right? For many of us that go into withholding, we also shut down and withhold our love and connection, whether that's through physical touch or basic levels of communication. And I don't mean just about like the logistics of the laundry or the dishes, the more of like, I'm feeling this. Because the moment we stop talking about what we're really feeling, what happens, right? We pull further and further away. So step number one is come into a place of compassion and openness within yourself. We have to forgive ourselves before we can forgive any other individual that's in our lives. And certainly this is so prominent in our closest relationships. So when you can come in, you can be open, compassionate, and forgiving with yourself. Well, forgiveness paves the way for grace to fill our lives, our bodies, our breath, right? Our emotions, our level of receptivity. And so when we are able to embody this feeling, this energy, this consciousness, this receptivity, well, our other person, our partner, can feel that. And through that interaction energetically, they're able to soften their defenses a little bit and open up. The next thing I would say is do something different. If you are typically used to engaging in home and maybe in your routine, do something different. Maybe go for a walk once a week where you're out, you're holding hands, you're talking to each other. Start small, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and build up as a way to not only connect with each other, but also to connect with nature, which is one of the most incredible healing forces that we have all around us each and every day. And it doesn't have to be expensive, right, to be able to go outside and connect in a local park. So these are a couple of things, but and then once you have that openness and you feel that openness from your partner to be able to talk from your heart, even when it's hard, even when it feels like, oh my gosh, I'm going to break down and cry in this conversation. Well, the tears then create the pathway for liberation and for truth to emerge. And it's these little steps that help to bridge that chasm, that gap, where you can come back together and remember why you fell in love with your partner in the first place.
Yes. So good. That's so good. And once you understand exactly where you're at, you're absolutely welcome, Courtney. I'm glad you brought this to everybody goes to this, by the way. I'm glad you brought it. But understanding where you're currently at, that part, like, and if you start to hear yourself, because you may need time to process, and I think that's healthy, by the way, to have a little time to process and get some clarity. But you go, wait, am I complaining? Just think about these 4 C's, right? Am I complaining, which is you don't do this, you don't do that? Or am I criticizing? That's a person attack, right? Now you're attacking the person, not the problem. And in many, or this is even worse, or are you in a feeling of contempt, which is, wow, I'm just really bitter and frustrated and angry. So if you can identify where you're at, go, okay, am I just complaining? Okay, that I can work with. Am I criticizing? Am I attacking them personally? Okay, what's that about? Or do I feel this state, which is, if you get to contempt and you're identifying that, you go, whoa, I am really in a deep, darker struggle, right? If you're spending your time and your energy in any of those three, think about how you're going to, this is the fourth C that you really want to focus on, connect. So identifying where you're at and how you're going to share that, as we were talking about earlier. But now here's the other part where we're having empathy, compassion. It's me, 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 me. And we start with me, ourselves, of course. I don't mean this in a selfish way, but it starts with you, right? But then understanding now, this is what I need to resolve a conflict. These are the things that I need, and you'll know, you have to get clear on that. And now you're also going to ask your partner, what do you need to resolve this conflict, right? Because it's not, if you're talking about, well, you always do this and you never do that, someone's going to get on their heels right now. If I said here and everyone who's here, I said, you know what, you always do this, you never do that, you would be on your heels so quickly, and then you're in defensive mode, and of course we all know where that goes. The chasm gets bigger and nothing gets resolved. So those two words, if you hear yourself saying that, go, wait, does it always? Nothing always happens, right? Or never happens. Just give yourself that perspective, right? But then also going, asking for example, like this drifting apart example with Courtney, go, in a moment of calm, when they're receptive, you want empathy and compassion to hear them, right? That's the thing. That's just the other part of the equation, to go, great, we're going to heal and work on ourselves. Now, what's your fight language? Or how do you like to resolve a conflict? And you may hear a lot, and it's time to listen. And then that's where you can build this bridge together. Because if they speak in a different language than you, and you don't have to have the same language, by the way, you don't have to. Just so you know, like, they don't need to value what you value. You need to respect and appreciate each other, of course, right? And vice versa. They may need something different. And you go, oh, well, I want to honor and respect that with you. They'll honor, and of course, that's reciprocated. And now you have a place to actually, this is how we resolve conflict, because you're both, by the way, looking for a solution. You don't want to be right. I'm hoping, not at their expense. You may feel that's your ego talking. I need to be right. I need them to be wrong. That's no way to resolve any conflict. How can we create a solution that works to better our relationship?
I love that. It's so powerful, because, here's the thing. When we're always in that blame game, we know that nobody wins in the blame game, but when we're always looking at the other person for all of those idiosyncrasies that we feel they're not doing right, we're missing the boat on what's happening within us truly, right? From that place of honesty, honest inventory, and authentic connection with ourselves, to say, wow, there's something within me that's happening that actually doesn't really have anything to do with what's happening right now, right here. And so that place of inner exploration, bringing your love to that place within you, is what's going to transform the outcome of what you're having in your relationship. And then, of course, what happens then, the other person starts to receive that healing energy, and they may not even be conscious of it, because there's so much that happens in our interactions that don't come from what we're saying. They come from the energetic. Even our fight language comes through an energetic engagement with the other person, of either trying to dominate their energy, or we're pulling back. There's all of these different nuances of communication that happen far above and beyond the words that we speak. And so just as we all have a unique love language, and I know we've talked about this in a past couple of conversations, we all have ways that we address conflict. And so when we can come into a deeper state of conscious communication with, I love your 4 C's, Shawn, some of these tools and techniques that are simple yet practical and profound, we start to see that it's the stepping stone of change through our actions each and every moment that create the greater picture of transformation.
Yeah, that's so well said, because it is really identifying what's happening within you, and who do you want to win, right?
Yeah.
Do you want you to win? Do you want them to win? Or do you want love to win?
Oh, I love that.
Right? And that is coming with a real intention. Like, look, I just want love to win in the end.
Yeah.
And if you both are really on the same page, it's being compassionate and empathetic and listening to each other's story. We talked about island hopping before,
Mm-hmm.
but I think really it is that if you're really focused and intentional about, look, I'm trying to create a deeper, more meaningful connection here.
Yeah.
And if complaining turns into criticizing, turns into contempt, right? This is where you get to go and start asking yourself, why? Why am I here? How did I get here?
Mm-hmm.
So before that chasm turns into a cliff dive, right?
Yeah.
You get to address this within first, so that then you can come from a loving place. And that's my intention. And really, I'd say this in most conversations. If you come right out of the gate, I want us to win. Well said.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Love that.
Use your language. I think the things that, I hope this just sparks the words that work for you, of course. But that is, if you just state your intention, like initially, let's, you leave towels on the floor, whatever the thing is, right? That's not your intention. That's just a want. Your intention is what? I want a more organized, calm, loving space. So that's how you can actually start your conversation, so people understand where you're coming from. Can I share this with you? Because I'm really just trying to create a more peaceful bathroom, whatever it is, whatever space, I go, oh, now you got my attention. That makes sense? So people understand your intention, not the personal attack, the criticism, contempt. Most people can handle a complaint, and it's how you say it, by the way, rather than, you always leave this on the floor. Is there, and you just ask it as a request. Is it possible that you could actually hang your towel up, when you're done? I'm using that example because you hear it all the time, or clean the countertops, after you have your cup of coffee, whatever it is, right? Those simple things, so they don't escalate into this contempt or personal attack. You don't want to attack the person you love, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
you really don't.
Absolutely.
So just put your own self in check with how you feel first, and really just start from that intention and be clear about that.
I love it. I love it, Shawn. Well, for all of you that are in the California area, Southern California, we are going to be in Santa Barbara for an event at Yoga Soup. And then we have 2 incredible experiences in Malibu. I just put the link in. You can visit thesoulinstitute.co, or you can tap the link that's there. We would love to see you at our in-person events. And if anyone wants to drop in a question that they didn't get answered through this conversation, we will bring it to next week and put that at the top of the list. So if there is a topic that you want us to explore, if you have a specific question about love and relationships in your personal life, go ahead and drop that, and we will bring that to the forefront of our conversation next week. It's such a delight to be with you and to connect in this beautiful unified field of heart frequency. And like I started the conversation with, for those of you that weren't here, love is the new currency, and the return in our investment is invaluable. It is priceless, because it is the depth of our meaningful relationships that brings us the most fulfillment. And we know at the end of the day, at the end of this life, what we will take with us is the love that we have been able to give and receive.
Yeah.
So
I love
we,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and I absolutely, we're here to serve you. So if you have specific things that you go, I'm showing up, but you're not really addressing this for me, for you, anybody out there, drop it in the comments or call Adora, call me for a discovery call and go, these are the things I'm really struggling with. We're here, right? That part, just start there, because that's really why we're here, right? They're one of us are here to hear ourselves talk. We're here to serve you, and certainly in the space of love. And I would encourage you this week to think about that. We're going to, we're certainly talking about love and fulfillment and happiness here. How much are you investing in love? And it could be physically, it could be time, it could be energy. Audit this week about where am I investing in love? What am I doing? Am I talking about it or am I doing it? All right, think about that. Don't judge yourself, and replay this. This will appear on her site, my site, wherever, in YouTube channels, whatever. Replay this. There's some really wonderful things in here that Adora was sharing that I think would really stick. So don't hesitate to do that.
Well, and likewise, thank you so much for sharing your brilliance with us, Shawn. Can't wait to come together at these wonderful events in California and can't wait to see all of you there. Please join us, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Blessings.
Bye-bye.
And yes, Yolanda, I'll see you tonight. For those of you that want to join in meditation, 7 p.m. on Zoom. It's free. You can join from anywhere in the world, and information at thesoulinstitute.co to sign up. Blessings.
Thank you both. Thank you all.